Hi, everybody. I'm Steve from Your Creation Station. We just finished our Facebook Live broadcast reading of this week's story time, which is Big Lips and Hairy Arms. We had a cute little monster that we was our companion project for this reading, and then yeah, and then hopefully everybody's home painting it now. Um, where are we here? All right. So we had a little trouble with our Facebook today. I tripped over some wires. I couldn't get everything together. I changed the setup just a little bit, but but it went off without a hitch. We did have one issue though that we couldn't resolve. I had asked a friend of mine to come in and do the reading with us, a guy named Max. I've known Max from when I was a kid, and said he was going to make it, but he couldn't come because he had a computer virus. Um, so so that's it. I'm here. I'll read the story for you. I read it for my first time just before. It's a nice story, and it's pretty good. So here we go. Without further ado, oh, I got to put my glasses on. There's a little ado. All right. So, Big Lips and Hairy Arms: A Monster Story by Gene Jackson. Pictures by Vera Roddenberry. Now, this was a story that Tracy had a book Tracy got for Joe when he was a little boy. Joe is not a little boy now. If you've seen him, he's a big boy. As a matter of fact, he just turned 21 a few days ago. So it's a good book. All right, Big Lips and Hairy Arms by Gene Jackson. Pictures by Vera Rosenberry. So it looks like Gene wrote this for his mother, Sally. And thank you for your love and generosity. And for Margaret Jackson, thank you for James from JJ. And then to Veta, who is in the telephone business, sort of, and who might find a laugh here. Um, so, so here we go. Big Lips and Hairy Arms. One cold, windy evening, two monsters sat in front of a crackling fire, slurping tentacle stew and crunching on caterpillar crisps. Thank you for inviting me to dinner, Nelson said. By the way, this stew is disgusting. Thorndyke turned pink with pleasure. I thought you would like it, he said. So I have a story about eating something that's terrible, but you'll have to come to the studio to hear that one. So here we go. Bring-a-ling, bring-a-ling-ling. Nelson jumped. What's that, he asked. Thorndyke pulled a sleek black handset out of his pocket. It's my new cell phone, he replied. Thrifty Mart had a big sale. I bought two, one for me and one for my mother for her birthday. When the phone rang again, Thorndyke pulled out the antenna and pushed a button. Hello, he said. A deep, raspy voice replied, I have big lips and hairy arms, and I'm only 5 blocks away. Big what? Thorndyke asked. Harry who? But the caller had hung up. Who was that? Nelson asked. I don't know, Thorndyke replied. The connection was bad, but I'm sure I've heard that voice before. There he is thinking about it. Oh, Nelson said. Then his arm shot out in front of Thorndyke's nose as he pointed across the room. What's that? What? Thorndyke said. Where? I don't see anything. When he turned back around, his bowl of caterpillar crisp was mysteriously empty, and Nelson's cheeks were so stuffed he looked like he was trying to blow up a balloon. Did I skip a page? No, I didn't. Thorndyke asked Nelson if he wanted to play Pin the Teeth on the Dragon. Nelson's mouth was too full to speak. He just smiled a little and nodded. The dragon had 1 tooth on its tail, 6 in its left nostril, and 3 hanging from its chin when the phone rang again. There it is. Hello, Thornton answered, and the same deep, raspy voice replied, I have big lips and hairy arms, and I'm only 3 blocks away. A chill went up Thorndyke's spine. "Who is this?" he demanded. "What do you want?" But the caller did not reply. "A prankster," Thorndyke said to Nelson. Nelson didn't answer. He couldn't. His mouth was full again. Outside, a gust of wind shrieked through the trees. The lights flickered, and rain broke against the windows like tiny transparent eggs. Thorndyke carried the empty dinner dishes back into the kitchen while Nelson flipped through a copy of Monster Monthly. Then the phone rang again, and Nelson's dog Dot started making strange sounds like an old car trying to start. Thorndyke came running out of the kitchen. "What's that noise?" he asked. "It's Dot," Nelson replied. "She's growling." Bring-a-ling-ling. The phone rang a second time. Thorndyke turned to Nelson. "You answer it," he said. Very slowly, Nelson picked up the phone. He held it so Thorndyke could hear too. "Hello," he said. And the same deep, raspy voice replied, "I have big lips and hairy arms, and I'm only 1 block away." Then click, the caller hung up. The back of Nelson's neck broke out in goosebumps. "Oh, wow," he said, pointing to his watch. "Look at the time. I better be heading home." "Nelson," Thorndyke said, "if you go home now, I will never, ever make you caterpillar crisps again." Nelson rubbed his stomach. "I don't like them so much anymore," he said. "Nelson," Thorndyke warned. "Okay, okay, I'll stay," Nelson said. The phone rang again. Thorndyke took a deep breath. He wiped his brow. He rubbed his sweaty palms on his pants leg. Then he answered the phone. "Hello? Is this Thorndyke P. Finkelmeyer residence?" a voice asked. "Yes," Thorndyke replied. "Good," the deep, raspy voice replied, "because I have big lips and hairy arms, and I'm right across the street." Thorndyke screamed and dropped the phone. Then he rushed to the front door and locked it. Nelson pulled the drapes. Dot started to growl again. "Stop that," Nelson said. Then he noticed he and Dot were all alone in the living room. "Thorndyke, Thorndyke, where are you?" he cried. A small grunt came from somewhere behind Nelson. He whirled around and saw a long green toe poking out from under the couch. Nelson grabbed it and pulled. Out came Thorndyke. Suddenly, something went bump on the front porch. Thorndyke and Nelson grabbed each other and squeezed. There was a small click. Then the doorknob began to slowly turn. "This can't be happening," Thorndyke whispered. "I locked the door." "Stop squeezing so tight," Nelson whispered back. "I can't breathe." Uh-oh. The door burst open and a great ugly monster rushed in. "Wanna know what I can do with my big lips and hairy arms?" it asked. Look at how scared they look. Then it grabbed Thorndyke and kissed him with its big lips and hugged him with its hairy arms. "Mother," Thorndyke exclaimed, "why didn't you tell me you were coming over?" "What?" Thorndyke's mother asked, as she patted the cell phone clipped to her belt. "Didn't you get my phone calls?" What a great story. So that was it. That's Big Lips and Hairy Arms. That was really good. And it's funny, the second time I read through, some things occurred to me. So it's pretty neat. Good story. That's it. Thanks. Next story we're gonna do is Hey Pipsqueak. Tune in live, and we'll do it live, and then we'll do it here on our YouTube channel. So that's it. Thanks very much for tuning in.